Welcome to the MassDEP sponsored video on how to fill out the lead and copper sampling locations modification/approval request form. This video will take you through how to fill out sections 1 through 10 and let you know what to avoid when completing this form. Before we start, here are a few general tips for this form. To fill out this form, it must be filled out using Microsoft Word. Do not print this form out and fill it out by hand or use another application. This form has been created with Microsoft Word in mind and streamlined for the easiest use in Word. Each section has been created so you can type in the information that needs to be modified or approved in an organized manner. If you do not have access to Microsoft Word, please contact MassDEP's Drinking Water Program via email at program.director-dwp@mass.gov. When your form is completed, the form should remain in Word format. Do not print this form out or convert it to a PDF when sending it to MassDEP. To guide you through how to fill out this form, we will be using Malden Water Division as an example. The changes here are being made using test data. These changes are not representative of Malden Water Division's true data. Section 1. Section 1 is for public water supplier information. This section contains information like the public water system name, PWS ID, town, and so on. Do not make changes to the information that has been filled out for you. Although the current approved plan and current plan approval date form fields are unlocked, you should not modify these two fields. If the information in any of the form fields in this section is inaccurate, contact your regional office. Section 2. Section 2 is for when you are using the form to request a change. In this section, you will select the reason or reasons for submitting this form. You may select more than one reason. The options are changing sites in my existing plan, switching from standard to reduced, switching from reduced to standard, and switching from annual to triannual. Just click on the box or boxes that apply to you, and an X will appear in the box. Section 3. Section 3 is to certify if your public water system has no lead service lines. Read the certification statement in Section 3, and if this is applicable to you, click the box and the X should appear. If you do not have any lead service lines in your distribution system, then you will need to complete the LCR NON-LSL CERT form, which is available on our website at www.mass.gov/media/2576086/. Section 4. Section 4 is to correct or remove any currently approved primary sampling locations that MassDEP has on file. First, confirm that all listed sites are accurate. All information in the first 5 columns, which are under the Current Location Information heading, are from MassDEP's data systems and are not editable. If any of this information is inaccurate, we will be using the form fields in the right-hand columns under Correction/Change. Here are a few examples of how to fill out this section. If the current location, 123 Main Street, is no longer used as a sampling location for Malden, we will click on the box for this row under Delete this location. If 345 South Street is now an alternate site and no longer a primary site, I will click on the box under Change to Alternate Location for this row and see the X appear. When I reviewed this section to check for any typos or any mistakes, I see that there is a typo in location LC004. This location name is correct, but the address has a typo. The zip code, according to this, is 92148. This should be 02148. To correct this, I will go over to the corrected address name column, go to the correct row, and type in the address without mistakes. 123A, 3rd Street, Malden, Massachusetts, 02148. There is also a typo for the address 23 Lake Street, which is misspelled. For this one, I will go over to Corrected Location Name and type in 23 Lake Street to fix that. Some other corrections you can do in this section is to change how you would like the location names presented. For example, in this data set, we have some locations with street spelled out and some with the abbreviation ST. If you would like to adjust some location names to an abbreviation of street, avenue, or drive, or to be the full spelling, you can do that here as well. Just type the correct spelling with the correct abbreviation or full spelling of the street suffix in the correct location name column. For all sites, except for schools and early education and care facilities, EECFs, which are covered in Section 8 and 9, we need to add the verification method for these locations. To do this, go to the column that says Verification Method. Under this heading, the column has each row with the word Select. We are going to click on that word, and a drop-down list of options should show up similar to mine here. Click the method that is accurate for each location. If any locations have not been verified, click Not Verified at the bottom of the list. For our example, we will say that 345 South Street, the second location on our list, was verified via field inspection. But our next location on 4567 Broadway was verified by a record review. Continue with your verification methods for the rest of your locations. You should also include the corrected tier and class if this data is not correct. To do this, go to the second column of the table and review the included tiers and classes. For our example, 2 locations do not have the completed tier and class. The rest are correct. To update these 2 rows, we will go over to the third to last column, corrected tier and class, and update this data. For the first row, this tier and class will be corrected to 1A. The other mistake, LC010, should be another 2C location, so I will also correct that. Explanations of each tier and class and verification methods can be found on the last 2 pages. Refer to these tables when filling out the tier and class and verification method information in sections 4 through 6. At the bottom of this section, there is an area for your explanation. If you have made any corrections or changes to section 4 in the table above, type your explanation in this text box. Section 5. Section 5 is for you to enter in any new primary locations that need to be approved. Before adding in any new information, if you do need to add multiple new locations, what we can do is click in one of these gray areas where we usually add text in the row and look to the right-hand side of the table. You should see a small box with the blue plus sign in it. Click on this box and a new row will appear. If you need multiple new rows, bring the cursor back to the corner and continue to click on the plus sign until you have enough rows. If you accidentally create too many rows, you do not have to delete the unused rows. We recommend you do this before adding in new information, as when you add in information and then click the plus sign, it will duplicate the information you have added. So for our example of Malden, let's say we have a Tier 1 Class A location we need approved. First, I will select 1A for tier and class, and then I will move to the next column, Verification Method. We verified this via a field inspection. For the location name, the location is 10 Smith Road. For the location address, this is 10 Smith Road, Malden, Massachusetts, 02148. Section 6. This section is for any corrections or removals of approved alternate sampling locations. This section is very similar to Section 4, which was for primary sampling locations. For our examples for this section, alternate 899 Spring Street in our example is no longer a location we use. So I will click on the box under Delete this location to request for the removal of that location. Under that location is alternate 932 Colonial Drive, which we are changing to a primary location. To do this, under the Change to Primary Location column, I will click on the box in the correct row to request this location to be changed to a primary location. For any mistakes or misspellings, we have 2 in this section. First, 4526 Cedar Avenue is not spelt correctly. the location name is missing the E in Cedar. For this, we will head over to the corrected location name column and type in 4526 Cedar Ave. Second, the 1 Hilltop Road alternate location has a mistake in its location name. The location name says it is alternate 111 Hilltop Road when it is actually alternate 1 Hilltop Road. To fix this, we will again head over to the corrected location name column and type in the correct location name. For all locations, we will need to add the verification method. To do this, go to the column that says verification method. Under this heading, the column has each row with the word select. We are going to click on that word, and a drop-down list of options should show up, similar to mine here. Click the method that is accurate for each location. We will also check the tier and class section to make sure it is correct. In this section, all of the tiers and classes are correct, so we will not need to add any corrections to this section. Again, similar to what we did in section 4, there is a text box at the bottom of this section. If you changed or corrected any information in the table above, type up an explanation for those corrections and changes here. Section 7. Section 7 is similar to Section 5, but instead of primary locations, we will be adding any new alternate sampling locations here. If you need to add multiple new locations, click on one of these gray areas and look to the right-hand side of the table. You should see the small box with a blue plus sign in it. Click on this box and a new row will appear. Add as many rows as needed. For our example of Malden, let's say we have a Tier 1 Class B location that we need approved. First, I will select 1B for tier and class. Then I will move to the next column, verification method. We verified this via records review. For the location name, the location is alternate 30 Rockland Street. For the location address, this is 30 Rockland Street, Malden, Massachusetts, 02148. Section 8. For Section 8, this is where we will add any corrections or removals of schools or EECFs. If your public water system does not serve any schools or does not serve any EECFs, you can click on these two boxes here to have an X appear, marking these as true. If these do not apply to your system, leave them blank. Look over the current school and EECF information listed and verify that it is correct. You can confirm that these locations have not changed by visiting the website childcare.mass.gov/findchildcare to make sure no new facilities have been added. For this example, we have 2 schools and 2 EECFs. Your list may be longer or shorter depending on how many schools and EECFs your system has. If there are any facilities that are no longer operating as a school or EECF, click on the correct box for that location under Delete this facility. If there are any locations that are recorded inaccurately, go to the corrected school/EECF name and corrected street address columns and fill in the correct information in the appropriate box, like we did for the previous sections. For this section, there is one school address that has a mistake in it. Looking at the first row, SCH1, the address includes the zip code 62148. This is not correct. To correct this data, we will go to the corrected street address column and in the correct row, type in the correct address. 892 Woodland Drive, Malden, Massachusetts, 02148. There is also a school with a mistake in the school name in row 2. To correct this data, we will go to the corrected school/EECF name column and type in the correct school name, XYZ Middle School. Section 9. Section 9 is our continuation of the modifications to school and EECFs. If there are any schools or EECFs, including family child care facilities, that do not appear in Section 8, add them here in Section 9. When adding in new schools or EECFs, we select the type, which will either be school or EECF. We will then type in the school's name. In our example, it can be Malden Middle School. And then we will type in the street address. For our example, this will be 210 Gerald Way, Malden, Massachusetts, 02148. Section 10. Our last section for you to fill out is Section 10. Before filling out this section, read the fine print right below certification. After you have read that, we can fill out this section. In the first form field above your full name, type your full name. Next to this form field, type your job title. After this, go to the next form field, which should be your email address. Make sure to type in the email address belonging to the individual identified in the field labeled your full name. This form must be submitted using the email address identified in this field. Next, type in your phone number and the date when you are completing this form. If there is any information underneath the area titled Your System's Primary Certified Operators that is incorrect, please contact your regional MassDEP office. These form fields are not editable and provided for reference purposes only. These areas include the primary distribution operator and their name, email address, and license numbers and grades, as well as the primary treatment operator, if applicable to your system, and their name, email address, and license numbers and grades. You have completed all the sections that you need to complete. Section 11 is for MassDEP use only. Do not fill out this section. Now that you have filled out the form and double-checked everything to make sure it is filled in correctly, submit this form as a Word document to program.director-dwp@mass.gov from the email you listed in Section 10. If you email this document from a different email address, it will not be accepted. MassDEP will review the form and respond within a determination of 2 to 3 weeks. We hope this guide was helpful. If you have any questions that were not answered in this guide or in the instructions included with the modification/approval request form, contact us at program.director-dwp@mass.gov or at 617-292-5770.